I first want to say that's beautiful, and that's the mecca, right? Because referrals are the only one of these four that compound, and they point to the fact that you probably have great product, right? So referrals we all want referrals. Like, give us referrals all day. It's free marketing. It builds transfer of trust, faster sales cycle because John trusts Jane, so Jane's going to trust you. I love it, man. We'll pull up the visual here to help the people. Learning more and more. We're all visual creatures, so it really helps to kind of see where are we fitting this in here. And I always like to think of this in terms of like the 4 pillar systems in sales and marketing. Like, you're not going to get away from this. Call it what you want. I've seen other people R4. Like I saw people come with their own version of this flywheel, but this for us has been how we've been seeing it, and over time has molded. It also fits our brand, with the scaling engine. But anyways, attract. It's the whole key of getting leads, right? Like, if people don't know about you, they're never going to buy from you, new customers at least. So love that we started on the R for retaining the people and the customers who already know, like, and trust you, because we can often chase this attract piece and miss the retain piece. So
I forget who I hear this quote from, but I read it inside the Lynchman book, and he says, we're in the business of attracting clients and keeping clients. That's really what it is, right? That's what we're all doing. Like, when you're building a newsletter, you get these people to sign up finally, but if they get out the door right away, there's no point. It's like you're a never-ending wheel. And I've had this story. If this actually happened to another client of mine when I was working on, they were more focused on the SaaS world, right? It was SaaS acquisition world where they would buy companies and hold it. So I had one client one prospect that I was building a relationship with. And I remember going out there, working my best, like spending time researching the company, making sure I understand who they were. And then when I finally got to the door of knocking on the door and having the conversation with him, the first conversation was great, right? He gave me what we needed. It was a very meaningful conversation. But when it came down to it, after the conversation ended, he didn't want to take next steps, right? So there's one thing to just throw stuff out there, but it's another thing to actually get the person to start moving toward the thing that you put down. And doing that on a base scale, it sucked because I worked so hard on bringing this person in, or at least prepping for this. But when he finally came to it and I can get him to say, hey, take that first step, right? You get your friends, he disappeared. So there's a lot of a waste if we don't know how to attract a right person, first of all, but then doing it in a way where everyone start telling other people, and then it just has becoming this compounding effect. So a lot of loss and wins there.
I love that. I don't love that for that situation, but I love how relatable that is, because we all have that story in our back pocket of like, dang, messed that one up. And I think it's important here. This is the start of the top of this flywheel, aka the campaigns, right, Daniel? So target, offer, message. It's kind of like if you're in the dating world. Like if you're listening to this, you're like in the dating world. It's like you could have everything to offer. You could have the smooth message that's genuine and like cares about the person. But you're targeting the wrong person, right? You're targeting someone who's not looking to be dated, or you're off on who you're targeting. The other two fall flat, and you can see where that fits on any of these, right? Your offer, like, you could not be working on yourself. Like, you got to put something out there worth someone investing in. And then the messaging, like, you can have right person, right offer, but you're techno-babble, or you can't convey it the right way, you can't communicate well, the messaging falls flat. So all those pieces really come to life in the attract piece. In what we're going to talk about is really the 4 buckets, the 4 channels to go and attract traffic and leads into your business.
100%. I like that you mentioned that. There's some times where you can have all these pieces right, but one little piece, it's like having, if you imagine a safe, right? And you're going to crack this safe, and you're given all the keys, all the right numbers for this dial safe. But if you put it in the wrong sequence, in the wrong orders, it won't open the door, right? And it's like you gotta know how to put this in the right way where you get this door to open, the safe to open, and the riches on the other side. So we want to show you what we're doing, rather than trying to reinvent the wheel and give you jargon that we found from a book, but rather like, this is what we've tried and this is what we've seen. And we hope at the end of the day you walk away with a lesson to say, I'm going to double down on just this one today, or this month, or this quarter, and see if you can get the same results with us. And before you know it, all of us can start to have these shared experiences, and we can see this is what we can double down on in this industry. And it helps the other person who are 2 steps behind us. So I'm excited, man. I'm excited to reveal what is it that's working.
Yeah, man. I ready to dig in. And do you think it's helpful to just kind of start with the four you see here on the referrals, content, ads, outreach? Really, the four ways to get traffic, to attract your new customers. How do you want to go about it? You want to kind of hit on each one, or what do you want to do?
I want to talk about very briefly what do you believe is the most commonly go-to when it comes to outreach, right? When you see a business owner who is busy with some clients already and they've had some wins, I've heard in the past that referrals tend to be 80% of some of my clients or previous clients are source of leads, referrals, because you do great for one person, and what works for that one person, they want to share these wins with others, and the referrals start to become your only source. What do you think is the only source for other people right now?
I first want to say that's beautiful, and that's the mecca, right? Because referrals are the only one of these four that compound, and they point to the fact that you probably have great product, right? So referrals we all want referrals. Like, give us referrals all day. It's free marketing. It builds transfer of trust, faster sales cycle because John trusts Jane, so Jane's going to trust you. But what I see, and what we just heard recently too on a training, what I've seen from other companies we've worked with is ads, right? I'll just throw money at ads. Leads should come my way. My calendar should fill up, right? And then I should make sales. And then they just go all in, burn a lot of cash, burn a lot of dollars, because the next piece is off. We won't get into that, the whole funnel piece, but they got a lot of the other things off. And so or maybe they get ads working. Maybe ads are working fine and they are getting leads and they are getting customers, but then algorithm changes. Russell Brunson says what does he call it? The Thanos snap, because like Zuckerberg Thanos snap, it can change on a dime. You don't want a one-legged chair, one-legged, attract piece here. Like ultimately you want to eventually get to a four-legged chair with a really strong referral base. But I think ads are you could turn it on tomorrow and you're going to get impressions and you're going to get people into your funnel and hopefully leads. So that's what I see becoming sometimes the Achilles heel is ads. Content and outreach are way harder.
It is, and it's a long-term play. And what I realized is that if there's one thing we want anyone to take away with for listening up until this point, that having a healthy diversity in what you're doing, right? Knowing that these options are out there. All right, but in the event that you're putting all your eggs in one basket, right? In this case, referrals. Yes, we love that, and we applaud that. But making sure that you put a healthy dose into others. In the event that this one dries up, you want to make sure that you kind of have an umbrella before it rains. Make sure that you kind of separate it so that way you're growing something else while the other ones are still bearing fruit now. So we've seen that, and I've heard that. I've heard a lot of clients who told me that, hey, referrals are my only thing, or like you said, ads were, but we're going to highlight some of these other areas right now, lay it out, and show you how we would go about splitting these eggs so that way, even though one is really dominating the rest, you double down, make sure it's living on its own, and you at least start planting seeds in the other areas, and how we would do it. So I guess let's start from the top, from where you think is what they're currently doing right now. That's perhaps referrals, right? Or the core four, right? So go ahead and take it away and show what we have so far, what we've seen.
Yeah, man. I'm going to share one more graphic to anchor the conversation, just in case it's helpful. This is from Alex Hormozy. All you got to do is look at Amazon to see and watch his content, how many hours, and like he just mad scientist boils it down. Like, he does all this work to come out and say, hey, by the way, there's just core four ways to attract leads. And so let me get out of this for us. But I thought this quadrant was very helpful. And so he calls it warm outreach, cold outreach, content, ads. We're calling warm outreach referrals. So not to confuse here, but as you can see, the top two is 1-to-1 and the bottom two is 1-to-many, right? And so warm outreach is people who know you. These are people who want to refer your way. Cold outreach is cold email, DMs, which is oftentimes really good when you're trying to prove an offer and get feedback get your first few customers. But I found this quadrant super helpful as we evaluate what can you do with the time and resources you have in your business right now, right? So some people are strapped. They can't necessarily put a credit card in and run ads, nor are they ready offer-wise. So I think maybe we start with, let's work our way from top down, either from like value, what I see as the most valuable of the four, or we could we could work top down from like lowest barrier to entry.
I really want anyone who is listening up to this point, get the one thing that they can double down on that we've seen that worked for us. And I think, just like you said, from top down, warm outreach has been the one that bore the more and got the most results from us, right?
Personally, we're just now ramping into the bottom two.
Yes.
So it's a very good point. Let's spend some time there on the warm outreach, aka referrals, and then the cold outreach. To me, this is proactive, one-to-one outreach and connection building, right? This is like networking. This is relationship building. This is conversations, right? The other two is a public one-to-many conversation where hopefully people reach out to you. But these are very much in the trenches, in the conversations, in the DMs. And Daniel, I'll point to you in a bit with some of your stories on the warm outreach from like a Dream 100 perspective. But our journey up to this point, and we're still doing it, has very much the cold outreach. And all the investments I've made in learning how to grow a business, how to build a business online, it's like always has cold outreach, especially starting out, because you've got to prove the offer. You've got to get some. You can get instant feedback if you can get a response. You're probably going to pick your channel of email or social media or both. So I've tried Facebook, I've tried Instagram, LinkedIn. We still do LinkedIn and email, but you're trying to find a way to knock on someone's door on the cold outreach with messaging that will resonate with them. And Daniel, we both know it's kind of like fishing a lot of times. So that there's pros and cons to all of these. Not a lot of cons to referrals, but cold outreach, there's a lot of pros and cons. And like I said, it's hard. It's hard work because you get to face the most rejection, honestly. That's been hard for me I don't love it. Some people love just like, I'm going to knock 1,000 times till I get that yes. And they get a thrill out of like, I guess they're cool with getting rejected, but it's like not always my cup of tea, but it's also good for me to just keep talking to people. So we've actually landed a client or two that way, like bigger clients. Yeah, I don't know. It's cold outreach is the best way, I think, from a cost-effective standpoint and a early stage of business to acquire customers and prove an offer. But as you can see, it's one-to-one, so it's not super scalable unless you start trying to do tons of cold email, which is you're going to lose the personal touch. And some people, there's cold email agencies. My buddy's killing it at that. Like plenty of businesses will just rip out thousands of cold emails every single day just to get that, try to attract a character. But as you can see, we all get cold emails. We all get junk mail. It doesn't always hit people the way like a valuable piece of content does.
I agree. From what I've seen and what I've learned, in that cold outreach sense, sometimes you'll throw out like a big net, right? And then when you're doing this cold outreach, a lot of the times the people, it doesn't hit them the right way, and you have to sit back and respond to those that are not really at your level. So it's really time consuming sitting there trying to take on all these messages. But for the person who does have a problem in that moment, it's kind of like a breath of fresh air to hear that they're giving it up to you, like sharing it all. And what I've noticed in the past too is that when I do cold outreach to a person and we got somewhat of I wouldn't say truly engaged lead, but they were warm enough to say like, hey, I like you, I'm just not ready right now. What I've seen that over time, even though you haven't responded to them, but if 6 months elapsed, sometimes it kind of nurtures the relationship, that time aspect that we've known each other, right? And that's where the content fits in the space and stuff like that. But I've had some relationships where I did cold outreach to them, I talked to them for a bit, and then I dropped it, and I came back like a year later, and it feels like we never left each other. If anything, it felt stronger. So it's definitely worth it. And like you said, it gets you in the door. It gets you can start testing these hooks right away and get immediate feedback, right? You send out 1,000 messages over a span of 2 weeks, right? I remember for one of the clients I've had, I was sending out 300 emails a day, right? And they were as niche, as vertical as possible about the one idea to one specific person, CEOs, about selling their businesses. And I knew that when I sent out 300 a day, I would get at least 2 book calls, right? And from there, at least get the response started to book call. And I've always had that. It became like clockwork, right? Where I just sent it out. Mind you, there were a lot of other people who said stop and like cat blocks, right? And like, I know where you live, kind of like crazy. But there are some who were really resonating, who really need that help. right? So I do want to highlight that is by far one of the best ways you can do, because you can control the outcome of that. You can start just, if you had no other time and like can just focus on just that, it works. It really, really does work. So
It does, and I love the emphasis on adding value, and the more you're on that left side, which is referrals and content, it's way more like the emphasis on value, and then the other two are way more on like a compelling, clickable offer, right? Because it's a cold email with like all case study or all ads. Usually ads have something attached to it. Get this lead, get this thing, get this offer, right? So this quadrant is really helpful, but I think the big key here is, where are you at in your business? Because we can speak broadly here and give advice. So like, you could start here, only focus on this, or just do the first top half and then move down to the bottom. And there are some general rules like that, but it comes down to where you're at in your business. So we personally want to hear from more people and reach out to us about where you're at, because we have a roadmap, even just like whether it's the Billionaire Code or where you're at with your offer. Like there's times when it makes sense to really double down or focus on one of these more than the other. The principle in all of this is don't rely on just one, and always be trying to add value, because at the end of the day, your products, if you have terrible products or terrible offers, like all of this is harder. Like you could be one of those people that build a massive Twitter following, but you don't really have anything to offer them. Like that's great that you add value. There's nothing wrong with that. Don't get me wrong. But if you want to have that great product too. So reps, it's all reps. All of these are reps and intentionality. You can get lost in the fulfillment bucket and miss out on the attract piece. So just ask yourself, of these four, assess what am I doing now? And then, where should I really double down on my focus, and where could I be better about like consistency?
100%. And we were always one for talking at you. It's been like that, to give it value, right? But we will always love to see how we can apply it in your world. So don't be afraid to message us and ask us, how would we do it for you? Because I'll be happy to show you. So happy to show you. So yeah, I just want to highlight that, especially as we start to wrap up here, that yes, there's these 4 quadrants that are working when it comes to building, attracting customers. Right? But it's easy to hear it, and it's a different thing to apply into your specific scenario. So feel free to drop a message or comment, so that way we can spend some time and think about it for you, or maybe even give you a lesson or two, so that way you can test it out and come back to us next week and we can highlight that, especially as we move into the next piece of this framework, which is the capturing of that attention.
Capture. You spend all that time, effort, and dollars to attract traffic. What do you send them to? How do you capture the most amount of leads in your marketing efforts and dollars?
This is the part where it becomes like, if you imagine you were in the wild, right? And you had to eat, right? You eat what you hunt, right? And at the end of the day, sometimes it's easy to be chasing people, chasing your food, but sometimes having a tripwire set aside, so that way it can capture something for you, right? Something, these little, a bear trap, some kind of, like the tripwires, that's why they have these tripwire offers. It's very like a tripwire. You hit that and your mechanism kicks off, right? You're still doing your thing. You can hear that tripwire let go a moment ago. You get the alert, so you move toward it. So I think that's a really interesting of the business too, because you build it and you can see that you've walked away with something.